What happens in Vegas is predicting all 20 matches over WrestleMania weekend. Next. We wrapped up the Royal Rumble and we're on to the Elimination Chamber, but we are looking ahead for our final booking WrestleMania 42 prediction video. And we don't just pick and choose some matches like you may see elsewhere. Nope, I'm setting up the cards for the entire WrestleMania weekend from SmackDown and of course both nights of WrestleMania. So that means we're booking 20 big matches over 3 straight nights. So let's start with WrestleMania SmackDown, and since it's back to 3 hours, I'm back to booking 6 matches. And let me tell you, 6 matches featuring SmackDown stars that aren't on the main cards is not that easy, but let's do it. As always, we'll start with the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and every man not on the WrestleMania card or on this card goes here. And I don't give winners in this video, but I will for the Andre, and we're gonna kick things off for this WrestleMania weekend by getting bouncy, and Javon Evans takes home that big Andre trophy. SmackDown stars always get the short end of the stick, and that continues here as the Women's United States title will continue to not be featured on non-Saturday night's main event PLEs. So we'll see Julia defend her title against Jordynne Grace, which is not so great for Julia and Kiana, but pretty good for Jordynne after getting title shots at both singles titles on SmackDown in her first 4 months on the main roster. Last time, I concocted a last man standing match between Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, and you've seen the video of Ford not quite being in top shape at NXT house shows over Rumble weekend, but that lets me think that change is coming, so Ford's gotta turn on Doc when they next show up. The United States title open challenge is dead, or at least that's what I'm going with, as Sami Zayn had 7 title defenses, Ilya Dragunov had 8, and then as of Friday the 13th of February, Carmelo Hayes has 5. So these just don't go on forever now, do they? Even though Aleister Black lost his chances versus both Zayn and Dragunov, when he steps up to face Carmelo Hayes, he's going to win and then refuse to defend it. And that, of course, upsets these 3 prior champions, so all 3 of them will get a fatal 4-way to get that title back from Black. We saw Royce Keys make his debut at the Royal Rumble, so we're waiting to see where he lands next. And since he and Priest squared off in Saudi Arabia, here's the thinking that that'll continue the next time he appears, which will take us to this blow-off match that just missed the main card. The SmackDown Tag Division was on fire through SummerSlam and then cooled off considerably, but we've got to get them some recognition here to end the cycle. We'll do that with a 6-pack Tornado Tag match where we can certainly expect all the toys to come out. So we'll have the MFT go into this match as the champions, and their opponents will be the Wyatt Six, this time with Howdy and Rowan stepping up instead. And then we'll also have the usual suspects in Fraxium and the Motor City Machine Guns. Then we'll get a Lucha Brothers reunion with Penta and Phoenix, and then making a surprise return to WWE will be the Hardys, who of course will still beat the TNA Tag Champs. So with that appetizer, let's go to the main card and start night 1 with a big ol' hoss fight, as Brock Lesnar always either wants to go on first or last. So we'll give him what he wants to go on first, and he'll get to reprise his Royal Rumble tease against the ruler, Oba Femi. There wasn't enough action between these two in the Rumble, but when Lesnar re-emerges on the February 23rd Raw, Femi will be right behind to call him out for eliminating him in the Rumble. It is kind of weird that the Vision's just fine with Heyman always joining Lesnar anymore, and there's no storyline at all, but this matchup is too good to pass up to make Femi the next great beast. The first title match of the main card will be the WWE Women's Championship, and you know I had Bianca winning the Royal Rumble, so my plans were set for Jade versus Bianca. But you've got to be in the chamber match to win it, so I will presume the third qualifying matchup that will be announced tonight will be Charlotte versus Nia versus Kiana, with a chance of Jordynne also being there since she'll probably lose her title match to Jade. And we could also have a mix-up with Candice or a returning Michin or B-Fab. And that is a long-winded way to say I don't think Bianca will be back in time. And hence, I had to move my matches around, so I'm bumping up Tiffy from the women's US title match to an unbearable 6th singles matchup against Jade for the title. I suppose we can let this happen since the last match was back on November 1st, so that is 5.5 months since the last one, should this happen. I would prefer Charlotte here, but I think she's tied to Alexa through WrestleMania, so Tiffy gets the nod. But we will get Bianca in the mix again by having her be the special guest referee. She played it down the middle at Evolution, but perhaps something more will be in store for this match as we head into the next cycle. And also note that this is one of 3 matches that I'm booking now that I booked in my initial WrestleMania 42 predictions following WrestleMania 41. Though I did have this as a women's US title match back then. My new favorite thing on Raw continues all the way to WrestleMania, where we will see the original El Grande Americano go one-on-one versus El Grande Americano. I love that the face-heel dynamics are switched between WWE and AAA, so whoever you want to cheer and boo is fine by me. And we have to have the stakes go up here, as of course the loser will need to remove his mask. I'd prefer to put Trick Williams in the US title match, but WWE's been putting him up against the biggest names on the show so far, and he has really knocked it out of the park. So he's going to get a straight up one-on-one match against Randy Orton. That seemed to be the goal all along. And this will prove whether or not he is ready for the next step. My preferred match for Orton all along was to face Cody Rhodes for the title, but I never picked that in these predictions because I didn't think WWE would do that, and even with Orton in another chamber, that just isn't going to happen. The World Tag Team Championships are next, and just like last year, I am going with a traditional tag here, which I really don't like because it keeps some worthy stars from getting onto the card. But the WWE thinks too highly of these folks to add more, and that starts with the Usos continuing to hold the titles going into the match. And they will be back in the Vision's crosshairs before too long, so Logan Paul and Austin Theory will challenge them for the titles. I really thought Theory was going to join Seth Rollins, but the Masked Man just stumped Theory and cost him a chance in the chamber, so I guess they're playing it straight. Oh well. The semi-main event for night 1 will be the women's Intercontinental title match between Becky Lynch and AJ Lee. I guess I shouldn't be surprised that this match is happening at the Elimination Chamber, with it being in Chicago for AJ's first one-on-one match in over a decade. But I will be shocked if they don't run it back at WrestleMania. Something screwy will certainly happen at the Chamber to make this one even bigger. The main event for night 1 will be a triple threat match for the undisputed WWE Championship between Drew McIntyre, Cody Rhodes, and Jacob Fatu. Reports keep indicating this could go either way between a one-on-one match with McIntyre and Rhodes or going for this triple threat. While I would have gone with this match at the Chamber, I don't see a huge swerve happening in tonight's Elimination Chamber qualifying match, so I presume Rhodes wins that match and the Chamber match itself, and Fatu gets a one-on-one shot at McIntyre along the way, only for some shenanigans to ensue that will force Aldis's hand to eventually add him into this match. And really, shoehorning Fatu into anything else just doesn't make that much sense at this point, so perhaps they can really create a new star here. Night 2 of WrestleMania is going to start with a 7-pack TLC match for the Women's Tag Team Championships. First, I had this with 8 teams with Chelsea Green and Alba Fire, but I saw that she has now broken her ankle instead of just getting a bruise. So I assume Chelsea's not making it back in time, though I'll happily add them back if she can make it. But I just want to sit on this one for a while. The women's tag division has really been a focus for a couple months, so I think this is how they get as many people on the card as possible. The problem is that no 2-night WrestleMania has ever featured more than 4 total women's matches on the main card, and we've never even had one night have more than 2 women's matches on it. And even WrestleMania's 39 and 40 only had 3 total women's matches. And I think the women's division deserves more than 4 matches, but I'm just not going to predict it until it actually happens, especially with Triple H loving his small cards, so I just don't see him expanding beyond 7 announced matches in any given night. With that said, that's why I'm just going to leave Rio here as the champions and having everyone else fighting them is quite a hill to climb if they want to stay on top. Also, on Raw, we saw the Bellas announce their intentions, so they clearly get into this match. I see no reason to break up Bayley and Lyra just yet, so they're obviously going to be in here to make up for last year's travesty. And I'll also give Kairi one last chance to make good with Asuka before they fail and break up for good. That leaves Raquel and Roxanne, who I will still assume will turn on Liv ASAP, so they can make Liv's road to WrestleMania as rough as possible. But we just can't have them interfere in that title match, so they need to be here to get their shot and to also be unavailable to get involved there. On the SmackDown side, Nia and Lash seem pretty obvious to me, but I am admittedly a little surprised they're getting a title shot on tonight's SmackDown. And if I had a fifth women's WrestleMania match, I would give it to Charlotte versus Alexa, but I don't think it's going to happen, so they can start their breakup after WrestleMania. While that was our one huge multi-team match, the rest of the card is going to be pretty standard, and that starts with the second of 3 matches that I booked immediately after WrestleMania 41, which will be LA Knight versus Bronson Reed. And you know what? I even had it as a steel cage match back then, so we may as well do that again here. While I was throwing darts back then, it makes more sense now that Reed put Knight on the shelf for 2 months with that tsunami on top of a car. And then Knight immediately went right back to fighting the Vision. And that takes us to the career killer Gunther and yet another retirement match. And the only person I see ready to retire here is Chris Jericho. Yeah, we all thought he was returning at the Royal Rumble, but I guess he was still under AEW contract. But how much longer can that play out since he's not wrestled since last April? Maybe Y2J can be the big surprise at this year's Elimination Chamber to somehow cost Gunther there, or just return at the next Raw. Either way, there's plenty more time to set this match up than the retirement that we got out of AJ Styles. So I'm going to leave in Seth Rollins versus Braun Breaker as the next match here. This is the third and final match that I initially picked right after WrestleMania 41, but I had it as the World Heavyweight title match back then. Unfortunately, both of these guys are injured, and it seems especially bad for Breaker now that he's needing to get surgery on his hernia. But WWE kept rolling with the Masked Man angle on Raw following that announcement of Breaker's injury. So I am holding out hope that it can still happen. And if it can, that would be great, and we'll even make this a Sin City street fight because there's no way these guys will be able to have a long standard match with all that ring rust. So perhaps they can just whack each other with some weapons for 10 to 15 minutes to make this work. But if they start down the path in the run-up to the show of shows and just can't get there, there's no shame in holding it off for a little bit longer. So what I'm prepared to do, should they be unable to go, is have a US title open challenge right here on the spot. Clearly, one of the good guys is going to win back that title on SmackDown 2 nights earlier, and they'll get this time to restart the open challenge. And I'm just going to say it's Sami Zayn for now because I don't want to leave him completely off the main card when I have him targeted for a much bigger prize next year. So he'll get to come out and have a challenge. And I'm going with the Hall of Famer Rey Mysterio as the man to answer that challenge, as he should get to be on the card somewhere after getting hurt right before WrestleMania last year. I thought about whether Rey could possibly be Gunther's opponent to be retired here, but I don't think he's ready to go just yet. And also, doesn't it have to be Dom for his last match? And speaking of Dom, he's got to try to defend his title against Finn Balor after Balor, Raquel, and Roxanne all turn on Dom and Liv. And while this single match is not as fun as the 3 Judgment Day matches that I created in my prior 2 versions of this video, it will still hit hard to finally end the Judgment Day once and for all. And perhaps McDonough will be ready to make a surprise return here as well. In the semi-main event, Stephanie Vaquer defends the women's world title against Liv Morgan. While it's not the match that I wanted here, it certainly should be a good one, as Liv really earned this spot from the moment that she returned by kicking Cena where the sun don't shine, and also as a deserving Royal Rumble winner. I don't want Raquel to get added here, and I don't want her or Roxanne to interfere either, and Dom should also be out of the mix since I put him in the match right before this. So let's just have these two give us a really good match instead. Unfortunately, there is no drama to the main event as it's the only match that's official at this point. It is CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. They had a good opening salvo a couple weeks ago, and Reigns will appear in 5 of the 7 Raws following the Elimination Chamber, so that should be plenty to make this worthy of being a true main event. When I booked the World Heavyweight Championship through WrestleMania immediately following Rollins' injury back in October, this was the match that I wanted. Though I didn't pick it in my post-SummerSlam version of this video because I didn't think that WWE would actually do it. So I guess I'm glad to be both right and wrong. So there it is, 20 matches over 3 nights of WrestleMania weekend. I can't say I'm the most excited for this WrestleMania right now, but there are still 2 months to go for WWE to get us there, and this card is the card that I'm predicting WWE to give us to try to do exactly that. But if you missed this week's Stop the 10 Count where I discussed all the Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, I need you to get right on over here and check it out. So until next time, I am the SportsZu, and this is a podcast that needs a new name.